Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Marina Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Curtis Jenkins. Curtis is a vision achievement expert, and today we're going to be talking on the subject, why most entrepreneurs don't achieve their vision. Vision is important. Welcome, Curtis.
Hey, Myrna, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Yes, yes. A vision. You know, the Bible says without a vision, the people perish. So vision is very important. So this should be an interesting conversation for all you entrepreneurs or people out there that have goals. But let me give you a short bio on Curtis. A Forbes contributor and elite business coach, Curtis Jenkins affirms that the most important thing to resolve was getting everyone involved to visualize the same outcome. This would lead to motivated team members who are enthusiastic at the realization of the outcome. He quickly implemented this knowledge, fine-tuning his own projects to ensure the outcomes that contributes to his vision. He soon realized that there was no one-size-fits-all methodology, but that in order to bring the vision to reality required creativity and soft skills. From that realization sprang the realization framework experience and the vision for his latest book, Vision to Reality, Stop Working, Start Living. Yep. Don't we all want to do that?
Yeah.
Don't we all want to be sitting around? I mean, that's the vision, you know, sitting around with our laptops on the beach, right?
Yeah.
Having like the 4-hour work week, you know, like that Tim Ferriss made so famous. All right. So Curtis, take us through your journey to becoming a business coach and visionary.
Yep. So the journey really started with the understanding of first who I am, right? And the first thing that I realized is I am personally a giver. So as a giver, I like to please, and I please through the opportunity to make someone happy by giving them what they asked for. And I've been like this pretty much most of my life. And so I became a project manager after a crossroads around a technical career versus a more people-oriented career. And a influential mentor of mine said, I think project management is probably your best bet. And it gives me the opportunity to use what I like to say, my people skills. And I like things that are temporary, and I get to move on from one thing to the next because I just love having a breadth of experiences. But my depth of experience is within the project management, my ability to understand where we are today, where we're trying to get to, and how to get there. And I thrive with that. And so in addition to that, I've played football and ended up coaching football. And so I know that I like leading teams, and I just like having an opportunity to be an inspirational leader, taking my passion, taking someone else's dream and helping them get there. And so that journey throughout my career, being a project manager, being an inspirational leader, being a coach, has driven me to want to move from being successful there to being more significant as I go from the third quarter of my life to the fourth quarter of my life. And I'm just thinking more, how can I help others? How can I see a world of small business owners who gave their families the vision and the financial security, and look, even more time from, we'll talk more about working harder versus working smarter. And also more time to be with their friends and their communities, because small business owners wear so many different hats. Yeah. That's when I talk about you're doing too much, but if we can organize your life and your business and still be successful, everybody wins. So that drove me to want to just give, and give my talents to help small business owners in this world.
Yeah. Okay. That's amazing. So yeah, so you got the vision not only as a corporate person with vision, but he also has a vision as a team, a coach. Because yeah, when you start off, what do you want to do? Get to the championship.
That's right.
That's your
That's
vision,
right.
right?
That's
So
right.
yeah, and every single thing you do, that is basically what you're doing. You're in there to win, right?
That's right.
Okay, so yeah, so that's amazing. And entrepreneurs do wear, a lot of hats, like me.
Yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur and I do it all, you know what I mean? And I've always done it all. In fact, I don't mind it. But yeah, but I know what you're talking about, working hard on the business and not working in it. So let's get to that, because
Sure.
that's one of the things that I know that's in your book. In your book, you talk about how entrepreneurs are working harder and harder, but not on the business. I think it's Robert Kawasaki that says that if you're doing all the things in your business and working hard, and you're just like an employee, right? So you teach them how to work on the business, right? And
That's
not in the
right.
business. So what is your take on that? Yeah.
Yeah. So, a lot of entrepreneurs, they put their heart and soul and their passion into it and work themselves into their job. So they went from a 40-hour week job to an 80-hour week
Yeah.
job because they're doing all these
Doing
things, right?
everything, right? Yep, that's true.
Working. So that's just, being direct with the customers all the time, being the one person that's collecting money, being the one person providing the service, or even if you have a team and the team doesn't do what you want them to do, and you say, well, it's faster or easier for me to just do it, right?
Do it
And you
yourself,
start
right?
training people to get paid for doing nothing because you're still always doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Working on the business is taking a step back and looking at it just like what you have, a business. Let's come up with an overall strategy where we're trying to go. Let's build the team. Let's put a budget together. Let's put cash flow measures in place that's going to teach us, how our business is performing from a health perspective. Let's get all the measurements that we need: financial measurements, sales measurements, customer measurements, and employee measurements. And start to look at the business holistically and start running it that way. That way you start to focus on more about how you get the right talent, how you move money in, whether you need additional capital to grow your business or not. And you have a better way of seeing an entire business. And why this is better for you is because, look, if you want to do the day-to-day, you can have at it. But most of the people that come to me are always talking about how they're trying to get to the next level and or legacy. How do I take this business and give it to my kids? Well, you're not teaching them how to run a business. You're teaching them to do all the crazy things that you do, and they don't want no parts of it. So it's how you run a business, with being with other like-minded business leaders and not working at the business every day. A good example is you walk into a McDonald's. You don't
Mm-hmm.
see the CEO or even the owner of that McDonald's at that
Yeah, you're
business. You see a
you're
bunch
talking
of
about
people
setting up
working to get it
systems,
done.
right?
That's
We're
right.
always talking about you always using McDonald's as our model, because that's the way you do it. You set up a
Yeah.
system. All right, go ahead. Mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I was trying to use something that was pretty relatable, that where you are just not there at the store, you're somewhere either looking to build more stores,
Mhm.
right? Or you're working on your own education, or you're just doing something else where your talents can lend itself to growing the business, not
Right.
so much the day-to-day operations.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually getting what you're saying. I'm putting a visual to what you're saying, because yeah, if you're the person that's become the employee, right, and you're doing all the legwork,
Yeah.
that means that yeah, you don't have any time to become the CEO. You're just an employee. You're not looking at vision, you're not looking at the next steps, you're doing the legwork. So yeah, so basically what they say is, using McDonald's as a model, is that you train the 16-year-olds, you train the people that, they're just following orders, right? And
Yeah.
then you go on and you do the vision and the planning and the things that, not the legwork. So that's right. But a lot of times The reason the entrepreneurs do everything is because they don't have any money to pay people. So how do you, how do you teach them that? Or, how does that work?
Yeah, and this one comes up a lot, right? And
Mhm,
so I've worked with people that have not had teams, and we've grown teams.
mhm,
The thing that I say to the team, to this business, is, what's your fastest path to cash? I recently have become a business advisor for an organization where they only had just the two business partners,
mhm,
and but they have a great product. I mean, a really great product. And so they've spent a couple of years working with other organizations, and I said, show me what your current business is. They had 3 contracts on the table. They had 2 contracts that were very promising, and they had 1 contract that was going and lingering. And I said, cut the contract that you're not going to see any cash on, and then focus on this cash on these 2 contracts. And when you do, you're going to have enough money to get your next employee. And that's exactly what they did. So then they got the next employee, and then got more contracts, and then the next employee after that.
mhm.
And so
Okay.
even prior to them getting the employees, we planned on who's going to be the next most effective employee to get, that's going to help us grow this business. And so
Good
now
plan.
they have 4 employees. They're growing the business, and it took some time. So yeah, you're going to be a solopreneur doing it all, but you got to find your fastest path to cash, and think
Mhm.
about, as you get to that next level, what's the next most important person that you need to hire into your organization, that's going to exponentially grow your business each time you add somebody else.
Okay. So when you're looking to add someone, you're not necessarily looking for a layman help. You're looking for a strategic person that can help you make more money. That's a good plan. Instead
Yeah.
of getting
So
someone to just to do the dirty work, you get
yes,
someone that's gonna help you make more money. It's a
that's
good
right.
plan.
In this case, they needed somebody that was very, very technical to help them
Yeah.
build their model on an application that they can present to potential customers. So it took their model and actually made it better for them to present, and then made them
Mhm.
more attractive. So, and
Right.
then the next person was, hey, now we're doing all this running around. We need a project manager to help us. And so, again, just building off of that, and then let's get some salespeople. So it really
Yeah.
depends on,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
direction that you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Instead of saying, let me get a receptionist, just answer the phone. You're getting,
It's necessary
you're
too, but
getting, you're getting
it might not add as much
skilled
value,
work.
unless it frees you up to do the thing that you do best, because I have a client who is great with business development. I mean, like, the best I've seen with people that I work with, but they're doing all these hats and they're not doing any business development. So we had to get an office manager to take off of all those things that they were doing, those non-value added tasks, so that they can develop business.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. All right. So we're talking about you know, um, hiring the right person to grow your business. We're talking about how you get the cash to get employees and get help. But one of the things that derails a lot of entrepreneurs is that they're working so hard. They have a vision when they start, right?
Mhm.
So the vision is probably monetary. They want to get $1 million worth in sales a year, or that's even a little bit now. I
Yep.
don't know, 100 million in sales a year. That seems like a good goal. And they have a business plan, because they go to the bank and
Yeah.
they have a business plan, and they have a vision and all that. But when they get to doing the work, right?
Yeah.
They kind of let go of that vision, because they're just like a hamster on a wheel.
Yep.
So why do you think that happens? Why do you think that most entrepreneurs don't achieve their vision? They have a goal of $100 million a year, and don't even get close to it. Why?
Yeah. So you're so right. A lot of times the vision is monetary. And I'm okay with the vision being monetary, but I try to dive a little bit deeper into your why, because your why is what's going to motivate you to even go after that number, right? Because,
Mhm.
one of the things I say in the book is the first million is the hardest. And the reason I'm saying that is because you don't have a system. Once you've reached $1 million and have a system, you start working your system and improving on the system. So then you get better at it. But you know, I talk to people about business plans, right? And like you said, they take them to the bank and then they don't follow them. Um, this is where I would say my sweet spot is here, right? And that is because I'm a project manager, I'm a planner.
Mm.
So you need someone to help keep you accountable, small business owners. And one of the things I talk about is having a board of advisors, right? So, one, develop a strategy, develop a set of goals and targets. So, just go all the way out to that $100 million and tell me, what does that look like? What does it look like in terms of your customer mix, your demographics? Where's your office located? How many employees do you have? Like, give me that vision that's going to be so crystal clear that 100 million starts to look like real. And
Mhm.
then we're going to develop plans. We're going to develop plans that take us from daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly activities that drive us to that. Now, when I work with clients, the one thing I say is do it for a year. I don't care what happens, because in our minds, when we create that vision, we want a linear path. Everything we said we were going to do is just going to happen. That is not life.
No,
Life is going to throw
no,
you a bunch of curveballs,
proposals,
but you
right?
got to stick to it. I mean, we do it every year, right? What happens in January? The gyms are full of people. They're full of people because these
Yeah,
people have visions of the best bodies they can have in the summertime.
yeah, yeah.
And by March, the people that normally go to the gym, they're relieved because they got rid of all those
Well,
people that
the
wouldn't
crazy
stick to
thing,
it.
I just heard a statistic that is actually worse than that. And I don't even know if I believe it. But the statistic says that most of those people that make um, uh, New Year's resolution, they abandon them by Martin Luther King birthday, and that's January the
That's
19th.
January, right? Yeah. I guess I was talking about myself when I said March.
That's incredible. But anyway, yes, yes. So businesses do the same thing too. Go ahead.
And part of it is the cognitive dissonance, right? So, there's two things I talk about in my book. One is confirmation bias, right? So if I go to work with someone and I say I can help you reach that vision that you have, and they are skeptical themselves, as soon as something goes wrong, they jump on that and say, yeah, that
Yeah,
was the reason why I couldn't do it.
yeah,
Or they give me another excuse that might say, I'm not as adept about knowing about their industry. So they use that, there's a point of reference that you don't know about, which is why I can't do it. And I don't like those two words, I can't, because
yeah,
you're going to reach that if you
yeah,
believe it, right? Everything
yeah,
you say
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't do. And then there's also status quo bias. I've watched people in business, outside of business, get so comfortable with just churning on something versus trying something new
Mm.
that they prefer the status quo because it's comfortable and it's easy. And growth is very, very uncomfortable. It's very
Yeah,
uncomfortable. So
yeah.
when you
Well, I know a
you're
little bit
comfortable,
about
you
business
ain't
and
gonna grow.
entrepreneurs, so we can have a great conversation in this. But I know that one of the things that kills businesses, now we're talking bigger businesses, not
Yep.
the mom and pop, but bigger businesses, one of the things that kills them is no innovation. So they have to innovate, right?
You have to innovate. You have to pivot.
Yep.
You have and look, if you can't get time and your head is down all the time working on your business, I mean in your
Right.
business, you
Yep.
can't work on your business by
Right.
innovating and finding new ways,
Right.
partnering with other people. So that's why it's important that if you want to grow, you have to get yourself out of your day-to-day operations.
Yeah. 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 And I know that's hard for a lot of solopreneurs because they always feel that they can do it better. They don't trust anybody.
Oh,
And they want to do it themselves. But yeah, but as a person, you've got a finite number of time.
that's
And
right.
if you want to grow, you definitely, which is why the new thing in the corporate world is team. And I know you talk about it a lot, and even in your bio about teams, because you pick a team and everybody has got a skill. Like you just talked about the guy that wanted somebody to do project manager, and another person to do their website, because all that is important now. Someone to do the website, someone to do social media marketing, someone to go, pitch it. You need several different people. Maybe you're good at the vision, right?
That's right. That's
Because if
right.
you're the CEO, you should be good at the vision.
That's right. That's right.
Right? And then you need to put a team in place to help you get there. So if we were to, to wrap that up in a bow, the reason that a lot of people don't achieve their vision is because they're working on the business. They're working in the business, not on the business. They're
That's right.
busy. They're
That's right.
busy doing the hamster wheel thing, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and treading every day, and they don't have time,
And
right?
we've glorified, especially in the US,
Mhm.
we've glorified being busy,
Sorry.
right? We've glorified being busy,
Yeah.
being always
It's
saying
true.
how busy we are. And,
Yeah.
the more we can say that, the more happy we are about it. But we don't realize we're just working ourselves, into the
Yeah.
grave without even
I
moving.
heard that too, that it's a
Yeah.
badge of honor to see how busy you are, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Tim
Yeah.
Ferriss, you mentioned it earlier. Tim Ferriss had it right. And it's one of the books that it has inspired me actually,
Mhm.
about the 4-hour work week, because it makes you start to think about how best to delegate and only focus on your value added activities.
Yeah.
It's something that for me, from a productivity perspective, it's one of the four things that I do, or one of the four books that I've read that I've
Mhm.
incorporated into my day-to-day life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I start off with that because I know that a lot of the solopreneurs, the one man operations, that's what they're dreaming. They're dreaming of being in their laptop, in Bali or something, and doing their work because they don't have a brick and mortar, right? And
Yeah.
so that's what they're dreaming of. And Tim Ferriss made that very popular. You can travel the world and go all over the world and just come on. And yeah, and I read his book too. 1 hour a day for emails, not like us scrolling all day long.
Right.
You know what I mean? And things like that. So all right, so that's amazing. All right, so now you have developed a program that you call the Realization Framework Experience.
Yep.
What is that? Tell us about that.
Okay, so the realization framework experience is 5 steps, and the 5 steps are visualize,
Mhm.
evaluate, calculate, clarify, and realize. Okay.
Hmm.
And so I trademarked The Art and Science of Vision to Reality. And that was actually going to be the original title of my book. But I
Mhm.
was trying to figure out how can I help small business owners learn and behave like the large business owners with an easy to follow framework, right?
Mhm.
And so we've spent a little bit of time on the first one, visualize, and that's developing a compelling vision that inspires others to want to become a part of it, right? One of the biggest things when I'm coaching is I'll ask a business leader when they tell me what their goals are. I say, does your team know what your goals are? And they say no. I said, doesn't make sense, because the next part is evaluate your business ecosystem, or evaluate your people, right?
Mhm.
Well, with the goals that you have, if you look at your team, can your team help you get there?
Mhm.
And do they have a role in it? Because that's what employees want. And so you got to make sure that your employees understand where you're going, your customers understand where you're going, your suppliers understand where you're going, and anybody else in your business ecosystem, because I think when people know, they want to help in one form or another. And so putting together the right team, evaluating the difference between your vision and where you are, and then figuring out the gap, whether you need to upskill people, let some people go and get some new people, or add new talent. You need a plan for getting more people to help you reach that vision. Then we go into calculate. And this is more about cash flow. When I ask people about their business, and I ask them about their books and their numbers, people aren't managing their cash flow very well. They're living payroll to payroll, and they're comfortable in that churn. So, and statistically, 82% of businesses fail, small businesses in particular, because they don't understand cash flow. So in my
So is it
big
that they
business,
don't understand cash flow, or they don't have enough when there's a pandemic?
well, so that's going to be another thing we're going to talk about and clarify. But
Right.
but let's talk about that in terms of, if you manage your cash flow well, learn how to put reserves in place, have your books clean enough that you can walk into any bank or a venture capitalist would want to provide money to you, or even apply for these loans, these PPP loans during the pandemic. I've seen books that were a mess. And
Mhm.
so I encourage small business owners to hire a financial professional to help them. What I do at the large companies is there's always a quarterly meeting, even monthly meetings, weekly meetings on how are we doing with financials. But we don't do that as small business owners, right? And
Right.
we need to be looking at our numbers. We need to be planning forward. I do an exercise where I'm planning cash flow. What happened last week? What's going to happen in the next 2 weeks? And then the next week, when we said what was going to happen, how do we do? And I like to work with small business owners to get to an 80% predictability, especially with income. Expenses are easy to predict, but the income is harder when it's erratic. So
Right.
you want to put in systems to make it
Yeah.
erratic. You
Yeah.
want to put in measures to help you collect your money faster. So it's a whole thing around evaluating that cash flow, but you also want to create a budget that matches not only the people that you need to bring in, but those goals. So you have the vision, now you have the people,
Mhm.
now you have the budget and how you're going to manage. You have the dollar set aside or at least planned, and you clarify this with a plan. And you put together a plan that has these objectives, that has every actor in your business has something to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis that leads up to that vision. So that when you're looking at how well you're doing, everybody's telling you their progress on their parts, right?
Mhm.
But you mentioned the pandemic. So I do also risk analysis, right? Some people do
Mhm.
SWOT
Okay.
analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I like
Mhm.
steep analysis. I like the what ifs on the larger environment. If the things happen, have an impact on your business,
Mhm.
and what are you going to do about it? So
Right.
STEEP stands for societal, technological, economical, environmental, and political. And it
Okay.
matters, right? So who saw a pandemic? Nobody saw a pandemic. But now that you've seen one, you know that there's recessions that come, the
Yeah.
inflation's here. So how are you going to behave? Let's go through some scenario planning. Let's put it aside some reserves and get ourselves ready for the next disaster. And that's the best insurance you can have,
Right.
right? And so that's the 4 steps. The 5th step is realize. Realize has 2 components. The first is measures. You heard me earlier talk about financial measures, customer measures, employee measures, and sales measures. Well, if we're trying to get to 100 million, we need to break that down. I'll give you an example of a $5 million company that I'm working with, and we have to get sales of $96,000 a week.
Oh,
So
wow.
when we're having a weekly conversation, it's how are
Wow.
we going to get that $96,000? Some
Yeah.
weeks are really, really bad. Some weeks are really, really good. It's not always linear, but
Right.
you're driving your actions to meet that
Yeah.
minimum so that
But
you
at
can.
least you know that number. And
That's right.
basically, if you've got a number,
That's right.
then you will probably hit it easier than not having one.
That's right.
Right.
And that's why you take that number and work it all the way back to what you have to do today. Because if you do enough of those todays and you hit those
Yeah.
numbers, that
Yeah.
number
Yeah.
that you're there.
Yeah.
right?
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
so the first one is measures. The
mhm.
second part is accountability. We talked about this earlier, where small business owners don't have accountability measures. I mean, you're accountable to your spouses. You're never home because you're
Most of
trying to
them never
grind it
know what's going on in your
out.
business. They just know when you're broke.
You know, exactly. So, you know, I advise small business owners to get an advisory board, not like a corporate um, uh, board of directors, because that it has a lot more structure, has a lot
Mhm.
more legal ramifications tied to it. But a group of people that have done this business before and or have a specialty, if you're not
Are you
really
talking
good,
like a mastermind or not?
well, I mean, you call it different names,
Okay.
right? But
Right.
what I do is I encourage them to pay the board, right?
Okay.
So give them something so as they feel valued for their time as well. And
Okay.
of course, you go back to the fact that, hey, we don't have a lot of money as small businesses, but we that's another area where I help them to grow and grow
Right.
that small business. And in fact, there's a couple of businesses that I've worked with that I liked so well that I personally invested and had others invest in as well too. So
Hmm.
if there's an opportunity there and you open yourself up, people are willing to help.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm a follower of Tony Robbins, and basically you're saying one of his things is that you can't grow what you can't measure.
No,
That,
that's right.
you've got to be able to measure your progress, right? And a lot of
Absolutely.
people don't like measuring their progress. They just fly by the seat of their pants. So yeah, putting measures in place is very good. I remember when I was a salesperson, I hated that because your sales manager is always calling you and says, well, what are you doing? This is your goal. What are you doing to get it? And I hated
Yeah.
that, but that's what
Well, it's a
they've got to do.
mindset. It's a
What was
mindset,
that?
right? Because
Yeah.
look, if you are meeting your goals, you feel good. You feel
I know.
validated. If
Right.
you're not meeting your goals, it doesn't feel good. So you're not getting that validation that as humans we
Right.
crave.
Right.
But if you're going to run a business, you got to learn how to put that aside and figure
Right.
out how you can.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So we talked about a lot of businesses before, but you promised to give me a case study from going to vision to reality. So do you have a case study for us, or you've mentioned
Yeah.
them all already?
Well, I kind of touched on many of them, but I'll
Okay.
just I'll tell you the one.
Okay.
The one is I want to be the largest minority supply management construction firm in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
We haven't reached that goal yet, but we did reach the financial goals.
Hmm.
Okay, so the problem, there was a couple of problems. The biggest problem was crisis. Their largest customer, just prior to the pandemic, had basically said, "See you later," and they
Mm,
didn't have enough money to fight them in court. And
mm.
so I think they were in for $600,000. So they had all these workers that they paid to do this work, but they got stiffed.
Wow. Wow.
So when talking to that business owner, I said, "Hey, let's figure out how we're going to help you recover. So we'll develop a stabilization plan, a crisis plan. I'm sorry, a crisis plan, a stabilization plan, and a transformation plan." The crisis plan was to get to cash flow neutral, where your cash flows were equaling your expenses, because right now you're running in the black, and we need to
Hmm.
work with our suppliers and people that we owe and everybody. We need a debt plan, and so all those things we need to do, but let's first get as much cash as we can. So let's organize the business to focus on the fastest path to cash. They had three particular segments that they work out of. Well, actually, one particular segment as a construction management company was mostly residential, but they were rising and trending towards commercial. And we thought, it'd be good to go for government as well.
Hmm.
Um,
Guaranteed
so,
money, right?
but that's a little further down the road. What we what
Right.
we what we got in front of us is these jobs that you've estimated. Let's go get them. Let's get this cash flow and let's build it up. So basically, we needed to shore up their operations, and get them cash flow positive. We needed to grow segments of the commercial business as well as segments of the government business. And we needed to get the business owner out of the day-to-day operations because their strength is in the actual business development. And so when I said, how far are we, when I talked to them and said, well, what do you think you want to be? And they said, we can be 5 million in 10 years. I said, no, we're going to be 5 million in 2 years, maybe, but we're going to build a plan for 1 year.
1 year.
Right. And I do that with each one of my clients, is that they tell me this number and I accelerate it.
Okay.
And if you want to talk about Grant Cardone and 10X and stuff like that, I wouldn't say it's born from that, but I've read those things. It's just how I operate. I think the faster you run into a problem, the faster you solve it. And so, so then we built that strategy along with what we came up with, a debt plan. So we had the vision. We looked at the number of people that we needed. So we modeled ourselves after Turner Construction, which is a huge construction company. And we did a side-by-side comparison of the org chart. Now you can imagine 2 org charts. One org chart is going to have, Turner Construction is going to have a single person or a group in each box. And this business had like 2 people doing everything. And I said, and I left the top box blank. And I left it blank on purpose. I said, because when you're doing all these boxes, there's no leader.
Right.
And then we built a third org chart that said, this is what we're going to look like. And these are the people we need to add and the order we need to add once we hit these revenue targets.
I like that.
And so that's what we started to do to build the business. On the other side, we had to put cash flow measures in place, like collecting cash right away. So our sales measure became DSO, days sales outstanding. I took it down to 3 days. Or if it was a construction contract that was 45 days, 45 plus 3, but no more than that, because everything that they had that was 90 days and their current collection practices, I said, nope, just assume you're not going to get that money. Because, and then when we get an intern, we're going to have them try to collect that money. But you just, you gave people an out. Yeah. And, when people come to my house and they do work,
they want money when they leave, right?
They want it before they leave. So those are the things we had to put in place, and we had to divide and conquer, so that, and then our weekly cash flow exercises, we just got better and better at, using a tool for cash flow that I helped put together, and then, how we do it. So that we get to some predictability around cash. And then when we can start predicting more cash and seeing more cash, we can start making better decisions. On the other hand, on the flip side, on the expenses, we got rid of all the recurring expenses we weren't using. And I'm saying we because I get into it with the company, right?
I understand. You're part of the team. So you can say we.
That's right. That's right. Right. And we really streamlined our expenses. And we had to put in place sort of a multi-decision pattern on spending, because the spending for work was a little bit erratic and impulsive, right? There was too much leeway to the foremans to be able to just spend money and agree with customers on changes, right? So we had to do change controls, and you have to put all these controls in place. And so then we developed a partnership with a larger firm, non-minority firm, that needed a minority firm that had financial backing. So that partnering allowed them to get more work, and their commercial contracts grew and grew and grew. And this was the CEO, because it was really good, like I said, with business development. So the business is still growing, but we got them from 1.2 million to 3 million, and we're on target for the 5.
On target for 5. Yeah. That's amazing. Yes, that's great. Yeah. Yeah. What happens when somebody bails on you and you've already, I've seen that in movies. You go and you buy all this stuff and somebody bails on you and you're stuck with all these things. So that's amazing. So all right, so that's that's working the vision to reality and getting
Yeah.
someone like you as part of your team to show them how to do it. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And now we
All
have our
right.
quarterly board advisory meetings. I'm sorry, I forgot this part about the dashboard and the advisory board meetings. So we do this on a regular basis because we keep the accountability in place.
Yep. Yeah. Accountability in place. It's
Wanted
awesome.
to
And I'm pretty sure
close
you're
off
keeping
that
them accountable
reality.
too. Yeah, that's why you're there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's awesome. All right. So now we get to the part where we talk about your book,
Yeah.
Vision to Reality, Stop Working and Start Living.
Yeah.
So I understand, I see the Tim Ferriss influence there.
Yeah.
Even in that title, Stop Working and Start Living. So tell us about your book, why you wrote it, what do
Yeah.
you want readers to walk away with after reading? And I'm almost sure that you've answered that in our conversation about all the things that you do. And then you can tell us where they can get a copy of it and your website.
Okay. So this is my second book. My first book I wrote was called The Only Job Search Book You'll Ever Need. And I met with a marketing organization who's part of my marketing team now. And they started interviewing me, and I thought we were talking about the next book, the next career book.
Okay.
And we got to talking about, I don't know how, I guess the other things that I do, right? And I talked about the business coaching, and they said, that's the book you should write.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, so let me get all of this on paper. So I started looking back at my computer files and all the people that I was working with and the methods that I use, because it's still all rooted in project management.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait, this is a collection of work here. I got something here. So I started pulling it all together and started organizing it. And then I thought about what were some of the things that I faced that if I told people about this, they would benefit from it. And the first part, and the book, so the book talks first about what leads smart CEOs and entrepreneurs astray. It's all in the mindset. It's that, I want, but I won't do. I won't, but I want, but I won't try anything different. I want, but if it didn't work right away, then I'm not going to do that anymore.
Right.
I want, but I don't trust nobody. Nobody can do this like me. So I delved into the mindset and basically said, hey, you got to get out your own way, right? And it's hard, you don't want to give up your baby to somebody, so you got to develop these trust mechanisms. And so that's the first thing I do, is try to develop rapport and trust with business leaders, because I know it's yours. I know your people have been naysaying you and telling you what you can't do, and part of you believes it and part of you doesn't. So that's that part. The second part is, how can I make it easy to bridge that gap? So what can I do to put a formula in place to help you? And that's the remedies, right? That's the realization framework experience and the things that are key that a business owner would need, so that they can make that jump, so that they can develop the muscles, right? And then they can start to believe in themselves, believe in the business, and just keep going and believe in other people. And then the third part is, okay, now that you're here, don't backslide, right? Don't go back. So let's put some things in place. And that's when I talk about the measures and the accountability, and constantly training yourself to just always be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And because growth is uncomfortable. And so that's how the book is organized, taking you through that part of the journey. What I want people to get from that is, it's not as hard as you think. Read the book, take the exercises, do what's in there. And if you need more, I do have an online class that's coming out that's going to accompany it, but also you can work with me. And so, but take the first chance and just stay organized. Put a business advisory in place, get some people that you trust, get a business mentor. So, but if there's one thing I want you to do, I want you to get a financial professional to clean those books. Start running your business like a business.
A business,
Don't
right?
mix your personal and your business, and start just because we all lend ourselves money from our personal accounts, right? And I'm guilty of it. I've done it too, and I've went and got help
Put my
to
hand up here.
separate, right? So that we can start
Co-mingling.
focusing. Co-mingling, that's right.
Right.
So that's the one thing. Understand your numbers, because most people approach me saying that they need money, and I go, how much do you need? I get a random number, or maybe it's a well thought out number. But then there's these questions. How do you know that how much you need? Show me on paper. When you going to pay it back? How you going to pay it back? And what are you willing to give up? And
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Nobody wants to give up anything, right? Give me money. I don't want to give you anything for it.
That's right.
So those that's the takeaway. And then you can get the book at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or wherever books are sold. You can go to my website, www.cljassoc.com. You can get the book from through there, or if you want to know more about me, you go to the website. You can socialize with me on Instagram and on Facebook at the Curtis Jenkins. My primary connection on social, my business social connections are through LinkedIn, Curtis L. Jenkins. And so you can look me up by my name, and you can find the book and any other things that I've done to help small businesses grow and realize their visions.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Right. Yes, I can tell from our conversation that you are a veteran at this stuff. So a lot of people want business coaching, and I think that's one of your questions, why a lot of people business coaching don't help people. Because when I started off as a coach, someone would come to me and ask me to put together a plan for them and all that. So I'm seeing that you go a lot deeper into that, and you and you understand about the project management, and not just put a plan where, hey, what you're talking about, sales goals or like a business plan kind of thing. It's deeper. So you guys, anybody that's have a business, and or whether they're solopreneur, or they're under 10 people, which is a small business, then head out and pick up a copy of Curtis's book. Like you said, it's available in all bookstores. Or you can, if you feel you need coaching, then you could, because this was a great job interview here today. He told you guys all the things that he can do for you. Yeah. So that's amazing. So if you think you need someone to, help you with your project management and help you accountable, then, reach out to him on either the social networks or his website. Let me just confirm that. So that's CLJASSOC.com.
Yes.
Right. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, a transcript of my conversation with Curtis will be on the show page, which is blog.myhopes.us. And I would also link out to his website, just in case you didn't write it down, and link out to his books. So definitely go ahead and get that, because yes, I can see there's value in what he's put together. So I want to thank you, Curtis, for coming on the show and transforming our lives, or our minds, I should say, on entrepreneurship and how to achieve your vision. You always start off with it, but very few people actually achieve it.
Right. Right. Thank you for having me.
And you're very welcome.
I will tell you this. I also work with mid-sized companies as well. So okay. I do day-long retreats and things like that. So I'm nice. Here.
Okay. Yes, he's here. He's starting small and going all the way to the top, obviously. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, thank you guys for tuning in to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I do appreciate you guys, supporting the work. And as you see, I bring you quality guests every week So definitely continue to check us out and share this message with your friends and any entrepreneurs that you know. So Curtis, thank you very much for coming on. Any last words before we wrap up?
Yeah, Myrna, it's been an extreme pleasure to be on your show. I've seen your videos. It's very high quality. So thank you for having me. And I look forward to continuing networking, and how best I can help you. You just let me know.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you for that. I will definitely connect with you on the social medias. And yeah, hey, let's support each other. Thank
That's
you for
right.
that feedback. Appreciate it.
All
All
right.
right, guys. So we've come to the end. So thank you guys for tuning in. And I'll see you right back here next week. Until then, namaste.